Hey guys, I am coming to you live from my truck. At the time of this recording, it is Saturday, July the 8th. This was a long week. Long week for me, a long week for a lot of people. This was the week of Independence Day, and it was a long week for a variety of reasons. I want to air a grievance about Independence Day that I have with almost everybody. Because this is something that I noticed this week and it really bothered me. For some reason, we've stopped calling it Independence Day and we've started calling it the 4th of July. The 4th of July is the date that the Declaration of Independence was signed. The 4th of July is the date of Independence Day. The 4th of July is the day we declared our independence. The 4th of July is not a holiday. The reason this bothers me is because Independence Day means something very different than 4th of July. Independence Day is a day that a bunch of old, rich white guys in the United States literally signed their death warrant. They signed a document saying, we declare ourselves to be separated from England or Great Britain, whatever it was called back then. We declare ourselves free. What they were basically doing is committing an act of treason and declaring war against the greatest empire on the planet. They were committing themselves to death if they were captured. They were potentially giving up all of their land, their property, and their money, as well as the fortune of their children and generations to come. These guys could very easily have just sat back and enjoyed their wealth, but they were willing to sacrifice all of that in order to make this country the greatest country that has ever existed on the planet. I'll make that statement, and I have no problem standing behind that statement. I believe the United States of America is the greatest nation that has ever existed, and I don't think that another nation as great will ever exist. But it's important that we call it Independence Day, because when you do that, you're recognizing the sacrifices that were made in order to give us the independence that we now enjoy. And I had a message in mind when I was thinking about recording a video like this. And that message was, to the people of this nation, and honestly around the world, because America has done a lot to ensure freedom of many people around the world. You have to recognize that sacrifice and live your life in a way that shows that that sacrifice was worth it. You now have the responsibility to pay back those people that made that sacrifice by being the best person that you can, or at least being a good person and a productive person and helping this nation be more prosperous. This week, that message became a little bit more localized here in Columbus when a Columbus police officer almost died in the line of duty. People will make these comments a lot that they'll say that soldiers sign up to give their life for this country, and they say the same thing about police officers, that they sign up to put their life on the line to protect you on a daily basis. Like these are the cliche statements that are made all the time. But one of the statements that is never made, or one of the demands that is never made, is that we don't tell people it's your responsibility to go out and make sure that their sacrifice is worth your life, that you're living a life that is worthy of their sacrifice. Because this is a bargain. This is a deal that we make with each other. I, as a police officer, I have not signed a contract, signed a blank check, put my name on the dotted line saying that I am willing to die for this country, or saying that I'm willing to die for my community. Never have I done that. The contract that I have made is I have said, you know what, citizens, and I made the same contract with citizens of the country when I joined the military. Said, you know what, and I even, I remember when I was deployed in Iraq, my first deployment while I was in the Army, I got a letter from a Boy Scout troop, and I think one of the adult scout leaders mentioned in the letter something like, I regret that I couldn't serve because of whatever reason. He had a legitimate reason, right? Like he only had one leg. And the message that I remember writing back was that we all do what we are meant to do. We all do what we are good at. We take God's gifts and we put them to use. That's my take on life. And I have a certain gift set that I was born with, and I have kind of honed over the years. I have a temperament, I have a personality, I have certain athletic abilities, I have a certain degree of intelligence, certain ability to learn and adapt and read people. Like these are things that these are like my strong suits. Those suits are best put to use in like a military and police environment. So that is the deal that I make with people. My deal to you is, you know what? I realize that there's a lot of people in this country and in this city specifically that are not prepared to deal with the dangers that we face. There are people who are faced with situations, with evil that they encounter on a daily basis. They're not prepared to deal with that evil. If they were to try to face that evil, it would be very dangerous for them. With my skill set, my knowledge base, my experience that I've attained over the years, the way I train myself, I can address that danger, and it's much more safe for me to do. It's not without risk, but I'm telling these people, listen, the risk is too high for you to do that. Just like, taking the boiling water with spaghetti off of the stove. I do that for my children because if they were to try to do that, that would be incredibly risky behavior for them. There's a strong possibility that they would drop the scalding water, and they would be hurt, severely hurt. For someone like me, I can do that, and I'm not hurt at all. I'm bearing the risk of being burned by that water, but for someone with my size, my strength, my abilities, that risk is not very significant. A lot of police work is the same way. A lot of these women that are caught in these abusive relationships with men, these domestic violence situations, it's very dangerous for them to confront that person. It's not as dangerous for me. That being said, it's not without risk, because sometimes those situations go bad. But that's the deal that I'm making with the citizens, is that, look, I know you're not as prepared to deal with these risks as I am, so I will take my skill set, I will put it to good use. But the other side of that coin is, you have to take what you're good at, what God put you on this earth, and you have to put that to use. And from where I'm standing and when I look around, I see a lot of people that are not putting any talent to use whatsoever. We're actually becoming a nation of useless people. I would venture to say that somewhere near half of our population is completely useless. They are unable to function on their own whatsoever without the government handing them everything that they need and desire. Those people, this is where, in the context of what happened this week, we had a police officer get shot, critically wounded, has a very long road ahead of him. He might not ever function the way he functioned before. He took on a lot of risk, and he burdened that risk for other people. And as a society, we have to show that was worthwhile, that him burdening that risk and him making that sacrifice must be worthwhile. And I look at the world right now and my role as a police officer, and I find fewer and fewer people who are capable of making that deal with me. Fewer and fewer people who are saying, listen, you keep me safe and secure, I will go out and do the things that make this country great. That's something that I've been struggling with immensely lately. And I guess that's something that I want to challenge everybody who hears this message to try and do for themselves. Don't be a useless person. I'm willing to take on the risk to face the danger that you're afraid to face. I'm willing to go out and do all those things, but you have to make me taking on that risk and my potential sacrifice worthwhile. If something were to happen to me, I want my wife and my kids to be able to look at you and understand that that's the reason I did what I did. And if you're a person who can't look my wife and kids in the eye and tell them that you're worth my sacrifice, you really need to reevaluate what you're doing in this world.